Good morning, well, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Fatina Kirkendall, and I'm coming to you with another Chronicles of a Favorite Woman episode. When I think of the goodness of Jesus and all he has done for me, my soul cries out, Hallelujah. Thank God for saving me. Well, I don't get started without going to prayer, so let's just go ahead and do that. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, I just thank you and I praise you. We give you glory, honor, and praise. I thank you for another episode. Thank you for allowing me to be the vessel of this show and just for what you're calling me to do. I submit Fuchina right now and I put her at the throne of your feet, and I invite your Holy Spirit to come in to saturate, to dominate, so we can get ready to lay and slay in your word. I thank you for our special guest tonight. I thank you for the story that is about to be told. I thank you for the breakthrough that has come out of the story that he's about to bring forth. I actually did not touch him, but touch his family and all that's connected to him. And Lord, I thank you for those who are listening tonight, whether they're doing it live or whether they're doing it during the replay, that they will be blessed by this person, that just special vessel that you have created by the name of Mr. Darrington. And it's in Jesus' name we ask and pray. Amen. So with that being said, good evening, good evening, good evening. It is about to be a nice show tonight. Before I even bring my guest on, I'm just telling you history. You all, I always got a story, right? So I remember talking to my oldest son. You all know I have an older son, and he's out in California, and he knows that one of the projects I've always wanted to do, I do books, but I've always done anthologies, and there's nothing against anthology, no pun, but I always wanted to do something on my own, and I just wanted to go a different route. And he called me up out of the blue one day, and he said, Mom, I met this person, and he is a self-publisher. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, well, I told him about you, and he's interested in talking with you. And I was like, okay, all right. And she was like, he said he will do it. He will coach you. And I was like, really? So long story short, I reached out to him. We got connected. And I'm telling you, it was like instantly there was a connection. Instantly. And I connect with people, but this was a different type of connection. It was just like, it was just meant to be. And I just appreciate, he just took the time. It's just like we were family. Like we just known each other of all of our lives. But the point is, I love the fact that he was willing to help. And I love people who are always willing to help. And as I got to get to know him on another level, he told me about his story. And I tell you, everybody has a story. We have to be careful how we judge people, how we treat people, because we don't know where the story. You don't know why they do the things that they do. And when I listen to his story and how powerful it is, or how he started with humble beginnings, the things he had gone through, the things he endured, and as a result, what came out of it. And so I am excited and extremely honored to have him come and grace the stage with me tonight. So I want to present to some and introduce to others, Mr. Lawrence Darrington. How are you this evening?
Wow. I'm doing great. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to give me the opportunity to even be on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. My son speaks very highly of you, and that was enough for me. And well, I don't say it will be enough, but I think once we made that first contact, it was just like instantaneous. I don't know if this is the word instantaneously, but it was just like that. It was like it just clicked. It just clicked. So I thank you for taking the time out, because I know that you're busy. You're out on Pacific Standard Time. So thank you, working with my schedule to be here tonight. But I have three questions because I want to go straight into it. Who you are, what do you do, and why do you love doing what you do?
First of all, my name is Lawrence Darrington, and I'm a self-published author. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I was born in Panama. My father was in the military. My mother's Panamanian. I came to America when I was 2 years old. My brother was 3. And I've been here ever since. I have 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls. My 3 oldest already graduated college. Now, I've always had a passion for writing. I learned to read and write in prison. True story. But before I get there, I want to share one thing that she forgot to tell you when I met her son. Because when I met her son, and he seen I had a book, and he was like real excited. He was like, "My mother's writing a book." I said, "Oh, is she?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, how much would you charge my mother to mentor her?" I said, "I'm not going to charge your mother anything. So if I got some game, I want to give it to her. I want to bless her just like someone blessed me once upon a time. So here's my number. You give it to her. You have her call me, and anything she needs to know, we'll figure it out together." And that's how
And
it
you
went.
and you stuck to your word. Yes, you did. To
That's right.
God be the glory. I appreciate that. I appreciate. He was so excited when he called me, and you hear people say things, but you actually, you don't just talk it, you walk it, and that's what I most appreciate about you. That you true to the game. You're a true blue, and I appreciate that. So you mentioned that you learned you writing has always been a passion, but you didn't learn to read and write, or I believe that's what you said,
Yes.
until you got to prison. So let's go all the way back.
Yes. Let me
Let's
go back even further. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people that know me personally, they always try to. Let me start from the beginning. When I was born
Okay.
in Panama, my mother left me and my brother in New York City Central Park with a note pinned to my shirt. And it said, "My name is Lawrence Darrington. I am 2 years old. And I need to go to this address, which is my grandmother's address." I still got the note.
Mm.
I feel some type of way about it. I never had a relationship with my mother. Um, I met her when I was about 18. And she stole some money from me. She said, because she was my mother, she deserved it. And I never spoke to her again. And I'm about to be
Mm.
58 years old next month. To be honest with you, I even went and talked to a therapist about it. He couldn't help me. He was he was what, 27, how 27-year-old Asian man gonna tell me about life? So maybe I'll try it again one day. But that's always been something that always bothered me. But my father has always been there. He wasn't the best father. He was an alcoholic. I've never tasted alcohol a day in my life because of my father, and all my uncles was alcoholics. I don't want to be anything like they were. But I loved him. Just a different type of man than anybody else was used to. And that's how life happened. So as I grew up, I was little Tito, and I grew up to become Big Tito. From that point, I became King Tito. But now you can call me Mr. Darrington. I had to go through
Mm.
I had to totally reinvent myself because I've been there, done that, been to prison twice, not once but twice. I remember when I got off the bus, I went to prison, got out, stayed out 8 months, went back to prison, and when I got off the prison bus, I was coming through the yard. I could hear everybody say, "Tito, you home?" And I was like, "Yep." True story. My mentality was so warped. It's like I didn't really care until I matured. I started having children, and that's when I realized that the only thing that scares me is having to go to prison and watch my children grow up on Polaroid pictures. That's a
Mm.
feeling that you could never understand unless you're in that position or shake. So I've always made it an effort to have an understanding with myself that if I don't feel comfortable taking my children there, maybe I shouldn't be there. That's what keeps
Mm.
me out of a lot of trouble, keeps me out of harm's way. I don't drink, I don't party, I don't hang out. I like being with my kids and I like being out of the way. So as I grew up, it was just I had so many different battles and shit I had to deal with. Like, I had a problem with literacy. I couldn't read. I remember a story. I was in school, maybe the fifth grade, and my teacher was trying to teach me how to spell my name, Lawrence Darrington. She became so frustrated to where she said, just spell Larry. It means the same thing. So I was Larry all the way up until high school. Until I realized I could start spelling Lawrence now. But that's how the system gives up on us sometimes. You know, our education system is back then, now, I don't know how it is now, but back then that's how it was. You know, they would give up on you. They just came to get a paycheck. So when I ended up in prison, I couldn't read, but I noticed how everybody got mail. So in order to get mail, I had to write letters. So I went on a journey to learn how to read. To start reading the dictionary, I went to school in prison, got my GED in prison, took some college courses in prison. As I climbed up that ladder, I realized things I hated the most and was ashamed of, I was getting better and better at each passing day. So where I started writing these short stories, and these short stories evolved into novels. And they just grew, and they got bigger, and they got bigger. And I was like, I can really do this. And I started getting better, and I remember, I'm going to write me a book one day. I remember the first book that I read from cover to cover was Alex Haley Woods. It draws you in so deep that you feel every emotion, from sorrow to pain to sadness to grief. And I wanted to be able to do that same thing with words, because we write to understand and we read. We read to understand, we write to be understood. That's always been something that stuck with me in life.
Repeat that.
We write, we read to understand, and we write to be understood. You got that?
That's deep.
It's a fact. So I had these certain bars that I had to make for myself. I just knew I wanted better. So when I came home from prison, I never forget when I got my first job. I got my first job. And then when I got my first, I worked. That was the hardest I probably ever worked in my life. But when I got paid, I had to walk home. But I had this crazy feeling that I was proud of myself for doing something I've never done before, work a job. Because I didn't one job in my life growing up. And but as a man, it was just like, it does something to me. I knew I wanted to try to do the right thing. I knew I didn't want to go back to prison.
Right.
You know, once I got out the second time, I made it my business to stay out. I started working. I started getting better jobs. See, a lot of people don't understand that when you go to prison, you get out. The system is a revolving door. It's their job to put you back in prison, because prison is a big business.
Oh, it sure is.
So it sure is. Parole officers that will get rid of you just like that. If you look at the statistics, our brothers are being sentenced 3 times more than anybody else. And it's sad, but it's true. So I didn't want to be caught up in that revolving door again and again and again. So I made it to where I really had to change up who I was. Had to move different, think different, had to re-educate myself, because I wanted to be around for my children. That was about the only thing that put me in a position to where I knew I wanted more, I wanted better, and I didn't want to die in prison, and I didn't want to leave my children behind. That's the only thing that truly bothers me. So whatever it takes to put you in a position to be a father, embrace it. Because without us, the cycle gonna keep turning around and around. I have a story that I was raised a certain way. I talk about this sometimes. I made a video about this that when I grew up, my father, I've never told my father I loved him. Never.
Did he tell you?
Never told me he loved me. That's just who he was. And then I was dealing with a woman at the time, as a man, and she was like, "Tell your father you love him." I said, "Why?" "Because you should." I'm like, "For what?" And she's like, "You should just tell your father you love him." I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"All right." So I would talk to my father, but I never would tell. 6 months went past, and I got tired of this woman saying this over and over to me. So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna call my father." So I went out of town, and I called my father, and I said, "Hey, Pop, how you doing?" He said, "I'm doing all right. What's going on?" I said, I just want you to know I love you." My father said, "You didn't have to tell me that. You don't know that." I said, "I know, but I just had to tell you that." He started laughing and said, "When you get back to town, buy me a beer." I said, "Okay." So I flew back to California the next day. I went to my father's house. Got there, the M&M was there. I walked in the house, my father was dead.
Oh my gosh.
Story. So that means I had one time in my whole life to tell my father I love him.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, it always bothered me. And I tell all my kids this over and over. And my sons, you say, "Dad, don't say that weird stuff to me." And then when I had my first book signing, I told this story. My kids looked at me, someone was crying, my boys kind of nodded, and they understood. So it hasn't been a day that go past me that I don't tell my children, especially my boys, I love them. I wanted to break that cycle.
Mm.
It's okay
Mm.
to express that love. Let's not give up on our youth. Then for the
Mm.
next generation, I'm telling you, I love you.
Mm.
Hug can go a long way.
Mm. Very much so. Oh my gosh. We got we got to unpack some stuff. We got to unpack some stuff. That is first. Let's go back to having a note pinned on you. Being a mother myself, my kids are 17 years apart. Being a mother myself, I'm not going to shun no mother. I don't know what your situation is, but as the child, I do know what it feels like to feel abandoned or rejected, or it's not a good feeling. And I tell people we have to be very careful because our kids pay attention to everything. It gives off signals and alarms, and it causes a lot of instabilities and insecurities in our children when we do this. Then I hear you mention that you end up going in the prison system, not once, but
Mm.
twice. Did you feel that you might have dealt with an identity situation or not knowing? Yeah, identity situation would probably be the best question I would ask for that.
And say it one more time.
Did you feel, or did you like going through what you went through as a younger? Did you find yourself dealing with identity issues?
No, I didn't. Because my father kind of did the best he could.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my father even tried to tell us our mother was dead, just so he didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
tell us that story. So for a while, we thought our mother was dead. And my grandmother pulled me into the room one day and said, "I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." And then she started telling me this story, and I was like, kind of in disbelief. And she handed me this note on a little cardboard piece of paper.
I see why you are so close with your children. Children have a way of bringing out the best in us. You ended up in the prison system because when you, okay, this story is deep. But I just got to be transparent with me on how I'm feeling. And this is really deep. And the fact that you are taking the time to share it and just showing your vulnerability means a whole lot to me. For those who are just tuning in, by the way, I have you streaming on your page, by the way. Those who are just tuning in, my name is Fachina Kirkendall. You're tuning into another Chronicles of a Favorite Woman moment. I'm here with my special guest, Mr. Lawrence Darrington. He's all the way in LA. Thank you for gracing the stage. And we're talking about how, going through society and life. And his topic is simply this, embracing the blessings. And man, does he has a testimony. His blessing comes from his powerful testimony from when he was a kid, originally from Panama, originally born in Panama. His mother not being absent, his mother being absent in his life, but his father was there doing the best he can. He grew up illiterate. And as a result of some of the other things that have happened in his life, he ended up in the prison system, not once, but twice. I just want to hone in on that real quick. You said when you went to prison the second time, they said, "Welcome home, Tito."
Yes.
Is that what I understood you to say?
Exactly.
I want to unpack that for a little bit because you're right. Number one, the prison system is a big a money making project. And I tell our young men, you have to get control of your emotions because they use that. They're depending on that to keep. You're the cotton. Where we used to pick cotton, we're the cottons now. You're the cotton right now, and you have to be in control of your emotions, or you'll end up playing the game that they strategically built just for you. When I heard you say, "Welcome home, Tito," please explain that right there for me. Just unpack that for me because it's almost as if when you say that, you know, people go back for whatever reason, but the fact that, it was like home. No, that's not that place we want to call home, but you did. Explain your mindset with that.
Well, see, first you have to understand. To me, my opinion, there's no such thing as rehabilitation. If you put a man in a cage with 2,000 people, with 2,000 different crimes, he's going to learn to do something else. Simple as that. That's why I say prisons are revolving door. Now, don't get me wrong. When I went to prison, I earned that. I earned that. I was robbing jewelry stores. I earned it. And it's okay, though. I went back to prison for what I did. So when I went back to prison, after being out for 8 months, when I got off the jail bus, as soon as I got off the bus, everybody ran up to the gate and said, "Tito, you home?" And I started laughing. And the guard was like, "Well, you want the same bed?" And I was, yeah. I had to smile, play it off like it was okay. Even though it wasn't. True story. That's my truth.
And I appreciate your truth. I appreciate your truth. So now you're in prison the second time. You've been there. And you went in there, and I'm assuming that you were still in the illiteracy stages when you went to prison the second time, correct?
Yes.
At what point was it that I want something better for myself?
when I started getting mail. When I started getting a lot of mail. So in prison, the only way to communicate when I was in prison, now everybody got cell phones, was to write letters, because you could use the phone, but you had to be like that guy, because you got bullies, you got I was with I was a young torpedo. I was with all of it. Don't get me wrong, but it was just so much of a hassle to get on the phone for 10 minutes a day, for 10 minutes a week, and they would charge the person you calling almost $50 for every phone call. So it really almost worth it. And you want to put that hardship on anybody else anyway. So you would have to communicate. They would give you a free pad of paper. They would give you a pencil. They would give you free 5 envelopes with stamps already on them, and you would have to do what you have to do. So I would just start writing letters. I wrote everybody a letter I knew. So anytime the mail guy came, it was like, mail call. And they would call me. One day I get 2 letters. Then I started getting like 10 letters. Sometimes I get 15 letters a day. And people be like, dang, mail call. And I'll just be sitting on my bed and you got mail. I said, I know. I wrote everybody. I wrote everybody, aunties, uncles, cousins, every female that I ever knew. I wrote everybody a letter. And then the good part about it is the more I wrote, the better I got.
Awesome.
I started reading. My reading became better. My comprehension became better. I started reading dictionary back and forth. And we used to have these word battles. In prison. Just going off of intellect. So it was. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was the worst time in the world. It was a learning experience. I mean, imagine being somewhere where you got 100 people that think like you, that don't care, could care less about getting out. Only thing we really missing is female, but other than that, it was like the police didn't run the prison, the inmates did. We decided they went home. True story. So I had to harden myself, because in prison there's only 2 types of people: victims and predators. You're either gonna be about something, or you can tuck your tail and go hide. It's gonna catch it with you sooner or later, though. I had to shake that persona once I got out, because I was like, I'm a mad dog, any and everything, and I didn't care. I was like, whatever, who, what. I'm the person, like my family, I'm the person they call if something is gonna happen. Call him.
Right.
He'll take care of it. He'll deal with it. You don't want to call the police, they call me. Like my brother, I love my brother to death. Lawrence Darrington, that's my brother. I mean, this is crazy, but me and my brother made a pact years ago. If something happened and it need to be taken care of, I'll do it. He just take care of my kids, because I can handle prison, because he never been there. That's the bond me and my brother got. And God forbid, and I'm glad that never happened. But that's a true story.
Wow, that is okay. So people are sending. I'm going back to the writing letters part, because now we're in that system. There's something better going on. You decide to go get your GED as a result of this. Is that correct? Yes, you guys did. So something did come out of the prison system. How long were you in prison? Because you was in the prison once and then again. So total, how much time did you spend?
The first time I took a deal. I took a deal for 4 years. And when I went back to get sentenced, they gave me 7 years. They enhanced it. I didn't even know they could do that. So it kind of made me bitter that I'm never turning myself in again. The chase is on. That was my mentality. If I ever get out, I'm not coming. You got to catch me. So, And then I got out. I stayed out 8 months, and I went back. I went back to robbing a jewelry store. They gave me 5 more years. So when they give you time, you can get good time. You usually only do half of what they give you, unless you just messing up the whole time. So, I did half of whatever they gave me. They gave me 7 the first time. I did half of that, got out 8 months, went back. They gave me 5 more. I did that, walked it off, came home. I went to jail. I was about 130 pounds when I went to prison. I was a little dude. I was a little, true story. I was a little dude. When they put me in jail, they put me in this thing called the softy tank. The softy tank is a whole bunch of young little dudes they think can't handle be on the main line. They think they're gonna be extorted or raped or something like that. So they put me down there. I'm down there for like 2 weeks, and they down there fighting over candy, over the phone. I was like, I can't do time like this. So I went to the watch commander. I said, I need to go upstairs. He's like, for what? I said, because I can't be down here. I'm a gang member. I need to go upstairs with everybody else. He was like, no, you can't. I said, I want to go upstairs. He said, I don't need to be responsible for me. I just need you to let me go upstairs with a men at, and I'll deal with it when I get up there. And he said, so I had to sign all these waivers. And I signed all these paperwork, and they said, okay. And he was like, man, you finna get up there and get raped. I said, hey, I'm not finna be down here with y'all. So when I went upstairs, I'll never forget, I walked through these big old steel doors, and I got to be the littlest person in this room. And I walked in there, and I see all these big old dudes staring at me. And this one dude walked up to me and said, what you doing up here? I said, what you doing up here? He was like, okay. He said, where you from? I told him where I'm from. He said, oh, okay. All right, you in the car. You in the crip car now. Go grab the license plate. Let's do this. And then I was just in there doing my thing, and they respected me for coming up there. Because I was young, I was little, and I was with it. So they was like, he's a good little dude. He's a soldier. And I gained them dudes respect, and everything was like, from there was history. And when I went to jail, I was 130 pounds. When I got out of prison, I was like 200 pounds, 18-inch arms. You didn't even know when I came home, they didn't even know who I was. They were like, dang, prison did you good. Body-wise, but not, but I had to go to prison and lift weights and be in shape, though. So that's a misunderstanding in itself. So I had to change who I was. I had to become almost like an alter ego. I had to be vicious, mean, conniving, say the truth. And then I had to reverse engineer when I got out, because that's not the person I really wanted to be. I scared myself sometimes. I mean, to the people used to think I had a death wish, that I would dare anybody pull the trigger. I had a guy put a gun to my hand. Me and my brother standing side by side, and I said, pull the trigger. My brother was like, man, come on. No, I looked at my brother and said, put your hands down. They're going to have to kill me. I said, pull the trigger. And the dude looked at me and just like walked away. And this old man was looking at me like, and he just started laughing. He was like, man. My brother's like, you got a death wish? I said, nah. It's just who I am. So I had to change so much about myself for having that prison mentality and grow up and mature and be the man I'm supposed to be for my children. That was a transition within itself. So don't ever let nobody tell you what you can't be, where you can't go, what you can't have. That depends on you. You just gotta grow up. Everybody grew up at different times in their life. You just got to decide when it's your time to grow up. You got to stand accountable for who you are and what you do. And remember, your children are looking at you. Because remember, they need a role model too.
And you're a role model, whether you want to be a role model or not. So you're now out on the second time. You have your GED by this time. Now you are in the transition, coming out of prison, changing your mentality from being locked up to now not being locked up. So you're still in that mentality, but At what point did you realize it got to be something better than this? And then what was it?
Like I said, my children. My children, the only thing that changed my mentality. the fact that, you know, being a father is more important to me than being a gang member or being that guy, you know, all the real guys, as they said, you know, either dead or in prison. You know, when you want to be real, take care of your kids. That's being real.
So now you're coming out of it. You got your kids in mind. What next? How'd you get? You said you loved doing the short story. You were doing the writing. You were increasing your. So at this point, you're coming out of that mentality. Okay, I'm out of prison. What's next?
I was working and trying to find my place in society. Like I said, it was kind of hard at first. Let me back something up. Before I went back to prison the second time, a friend of mine, Clay, love you, man. That's the only brother that, you know, that looked out for me. My friend of mine came to my house and said, "Hey, man, what's up? What you doing?" I said, "What's up, man? I'm trying to work." He's like, "Okay, huh? Here's $5,000." So Clayton gave me $5,000 and he left. And I was doing my thing, working out of my business. He came back like 3 months later. He was like, "What's up? How you doing?" I said, "I'm good, man." So you ready? I was like, "Man, I'm trying to do right, man." I'm trying to do right, man. He said, "I respect that. It's 10,000. Call me when you need me." He gave me 10,000, and I was doing my thing, and and at that time, my kid's mother, she was like on me, like, "You got to find a better job. You got to do this. You got to do that." And she was just like, "I'm tired of going to work, coming home, and you having to do this and did that, and this has got to be mentally." I was like, "I'm so cool." I picked up the phone and said, "Man, I'm ready, man." I went to the door. I bought everything I thought I would need in prison: jeans, t-shirt, zoom, zoom, wham, wham. This is candy, chips, and all my deodorant and hygiene stuff. And I put it in 2 boxes, and I put it in the closet. And I turned around and told my kid's mother, "Mail it to me when I get to prison." I walked out the door, and I went on a mission until I ended up getting caught, and that's how I ended up going back to prison the second time after 8 months.
So now we got that. We know why you went there. I got you. Now you're out. You still got that. You got that mentality. You still got that prison mentality. That's coming out. And how many children did you have at this point when you came out the second time?
I had my son, my oldest son, was born while I was in prison. I was on the phone while his mother was in labor, listening to her cry and scream until my son was born before I had to hang up. It was a proud moment and a sad moment at the same time. So I couldn't be there for my son or her. And she just sent me pictures. I think I got out. He might have been 3 years old when I finally got out of prison. 3, 4 years old when I got out, and that's always been something that bothered me too. I only had the second time. It was just Lawrence. And then Devin came. So all my kids really happened after I got out of prison the second time. Except Lawrence was born.
So when did we start increasing the writing? When did you know that, okay, I know I can, I'm knocked out this writing skill. I have a writing skill and I'm ready to take it. I'm trying to make it my passion. When did it become your passion? And tell me about that. Because now, I mean, you.
Look, when I finished writing the Karma Club, I had an uncle and he said, "I can help you publish this book." I gave it to him. He lost it. True story. He lost it. And I was like, "You lost it?" He said, "I don't know what I did." He must have been drunk or something. He lost it. So I was like, so I got to rewrite it, which is everything happened for a reason. So maybe that's was best. So I started rewriting it. So I rewrote it, and I sat down with one of my cousins, and I was telling him about this idea. And I have a cousin, rest in peace, Donald Pearson. He helped me. He was real. He was a real Christian. He was real. He was real. When it comes to certain things, he's real spiritual. And I was asking him all these questions. He was like, you know what? That's a good idea. That probably would work. Let me help you in certain degrees when it comes to, the religious part of some of the stuff that's in the book. Because he helped me do it. I give him that. He did. And he helped me. And it started coming to life. And then I originally published that book in 2014. I sold 50 copies and just put it on the shelf and went back to living the street life, doing whatever I needed to do, pay bills, take care of my kids. And a couple years later, a couple people kept asking me, what happened to that book you wrote? I said, what do you mean? What happened to that book? That was a really good book for me. I need to put that book out. That's a real good book. I was like, okay. So a friend of mine, Melina West, Jazz A, she kept asking me, you need to reread your book. Okay, why? She said, reread your book. So I reread my book and realized I needed to update it. So I reread my book, I updated it, republished it, and I put it out in 2021. I sold 500 copies in 6 months. By the end of the year, I sold 1,000 copies. Up to date, I sold 7,000 copies with no bookstore. Just grinding over the internet, pushing, never giving up, believing in the dream, never looking back. And one day soon, I'm going to get a movie deal. I'm going to manifest it. Because you don't have to see it to believe it. You just have to manifest it to receive it.
There you go. I love that. I love that. So you entered your book. So how long was Karma Club in the making, or when did it start before it became published?
I copywritten it with the Library of Congress in 2008. Mm-hmm. So I've been working on this project for almost 10 years, but you gotta understand, I would write and put it down. I was in the streets. I was trying to pay bills, take care of my kids. I was trying to buy houses and cars and keep up with certain, aspect of just surviving. Mm-hmm. And I did it well. So it wasn't a priority for me. It wasn't a priority for me to finish to complete it until other people started pushing me in that direction. I would have never finished my book. I would have never finished writing my book and published my book without Melina West. She helped me. I've always given her props. I wouldn't have never done it without her. She helped me. She motivated me. She pushed me. She got on my damn nerves until I did. So, and I've always, always want to say thank you. Appreciate you, Jazz A. When I make it, we make it.
I love that. I love that. And in case you're wondering, if you're just tuning in, my name is Fatina Kirkendall, and you're tuning into another Chronicles of a Favorite Woman. I am talking with my special guest, Mr. Lawrence Darrington from Los Angeles, California. And the book that he's referring to, he talked, well, before we do that, let's talk, we will talk about, his upbringing. He comes from humble upbringings, not knowing who his mother is, dealing with his father, but his father was in his life. So I will say that I got to give him that. He was in his life. Lawrence talked about, his experience with the law, not the law, but act the law. And then also being in prison, not once, but twice, where he learned how to read and write. It started with just doing reading the dictionary. It started with letter writing. And the more he started doing it, the better he became. When he finally comes out, now he's with children, while I was in the prison system. And then now, with 6, having to deal with a mother not there for you, or having to deal with, it makes you even stronger, or making sure you work hard to know your kids are loved, let them know that you're there for them, and you have done that, and I commend you for that. As a result, we have a project that you wrote, and it's called the Karma Club, you all. So I am so excited for him. So because he's actually given me some extra copies to give out to you all, so I'm happy about it.
I
And
want to share.
please,
I want to share one story with you. It's always
please.
been dear to my heart. When I published my book, I was sitting in my living room one day, and my daughter was here, right? And my daughter, Brooklyn, walks up to me, holding my book, and she said, "Daddy, I'm so proud of you." And I was like, "Thank you." And she walks up to me and she hugs me, and she said it again, "Daddy, I'm so proud of you." So I put my arms around her, holding her, and she started crying. She said it again. And at that point, I knew what I had to do. I wanted to do something to make my children proud.
That's deep.
And my other daughter,
That is really
like Wuda, my daughter Wuda, hey Wuda, Wuda always say, "My daddy famous. You can Google my daddy. Can't Google my mama, but you can Google my daddy." And it'd be so, yeah, that's right, baby.
Gosh, that's awesome when you have your kids. When you think kids are not paying attention to you, they really are. That's why we have to be very careful what we feed them, what we do in front of them, what we say, what we do, because they're paying attention. And I know that melts my heart when I hear something like that. So
Yes.
tell me about a little bit about Karma Club.
The
Not a
karma,
lot,
not a lot.
like elevators, not a lot. Because, like I said, I do have books available. Thanks to Mr. Darrington, he is giving out. So I have 4 books to give out. So if you're interested, I'll definitely send it over to you.
Yes, yes, yes. You can also look me up on all my social media, Lawrence Darrington on Facebook, or the Karma Club Trilogy on Instagram. I'm also on
All right.
TikTok.
So before we get to all that, let's get back to the Karma Club. Let's get back to the book. Bam.
Bam! I guarantee, if you give me the opportunity, you will not put this book down. It is a page turner. Guarantee it. Once upon a time, I remember when I was on Facebook, I said I want 20 people, yes, avid readers, to order my book. I will send it to you for free. If you read it and you don't like it, you don't owe me anything. If you like it, show me some support. Every one of them paid. They was like, "This book was worth it. It's a good read. Thank you so much. Oh my God, when you gonna write part 2?" True story.
Mm,
It's that good.
I
Give me the
believe.
opportunity to blow your mind.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. You're talking about embracing your blessings, first walking into your destiny of writing, and now embracing your blessings with your children, with your book. And how many copies have you said you sold?
Over 7,000.
And now you said you did this. Now this what caught my attention is that you're a self-publisher.
Self-published author. Everything I did was in-house. I remember when
Wow.
it came to the editing part of my book,
Mm-hmm.
to where I was trying to figure out how I was gonna get my book edited. So I was at a book fair one day, and I run into this sister. She had about 13 books on this table, and I was like, "Wow, you got all these books edited?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "I was looking on the internet, and everybody I talked to wanted so much per word, and like almost $2,500 to edit a book." She said, "You ain't got to do that." And I'm gonna share with you what she said with me. She said, "I want you to go up to your local college. I want you to talk to one of your professors. You have him introduce you to his best 2 students," which I did. One person read it, edited it, gave it to the next person. She read it, edited it, gave it to the teacher. He reread it, edited it, graded it, and gave it back to me. So I ended up paying like $400. Not
Mm-hmm.
much. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much, brother. Appreciate you so much for the helping hand. Sometimes you have to work with what you got. As we
Mm-hmm.
said, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it.
Exactly. So I have a question for you. We have people who will be listening to this or listening to it live, and we also have those who will be listening to it on a replay because it's definitely on your page. I'm live now and will be afterwards. You have men out there that have gone through what you've gone through. They may be still going through right now, struggling. What nuggets of wisdom would you be able to provide for them?
Rule number one, you have to change your environment. I'm not saying you have to just leave the hood. Sometimes you ain't got nowhere else to go. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to make a conscious decision. Do I want to take the opportunity and the chance to lose my life and my freedom dealing with the same people that I did once upon a time? You have to grow up. You got to put your family first and your freedom second. And you have to stay out of harm's way. You know, I mean, a grown man
Mm,
gonna do what a grown man want to do, but
that's true.
don't let no one influence you. Don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about indoctrination. Worry about you and your children. Worry about elevating. Worry about moving different. You can thank me
Mm,
later.
mm. That is deep. That is really, really deep. And I just want you to repeat if they were looking to reach you, how would they go about doing that?
You can reach me on Facebook as Lawrence Darrington. You can look me up on Instagram at Karma Trilogy. You can order my book. Come to my page. I appreciate it so much. Believe me, you will not regret it. You will not regret it. This book can change lives. This book will have you laughing, crying, rejoicing, all in one.
Mm,
But you got to get the book. You got to read it. At the end of the day, I've always said one thing: if we don't support each other, who will? Good, better, best.
that's right.
Never let it rest. Your good is better, and your better is best.
It's the
Welcome to the Karma
best.
Club. Go get your copy. Don't sit on the sidelines. I hear a lot of people always tell me, "Man, I'm so proud of you." Don't be proud of me when you bought my book.
Right, right, right. So for those who are interested, I do
I'm
have
only saying that. I'm only saying that for family and friends. I'm only saying that for family and friends. I remember one time I was at this book signing and I was telling this older lady that, and she was like, "Don't let that bother you because they're always going to be more strangers than family and friends."
mm-hmm,
True fact.
mm-hmm.
Facts.
Awesome. So, for those of you who are interested in getting the Karma Club, I have 4 books to give away, and they are autographed by Mr. Darrington himself.
Yes. Yes.
So, just hit me up. You can DM me. If you listen to the replay, definitely DM me. I'm so excited about doing the book myself. And so if you're on his live or you're on mine, just shoot me a DM. And I'm Fuchina Kirkendall. And so, with that being said, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And you said you want to say something else. You got it, huh?
Yes. Or you can order it from our website at the Karma Club Trilogy, the KarmaClubNovel.com. KarmaClubNovel.com. You can order your copy as well.
Karma
And thank you so
Club.
much for having me on your show. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for taking the time out. I mean, you're out there in LA, so I don't know what you normally do at 3 something in the afternoon, or I think it's 4 something now. So, uh, So, but yeah, regardless, this is just the best is yet to come for you. 7,000 copies, and that's self-published. That speaks volume. I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and coach, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're coaching me. So thank you so much for that. And now the best is yet to come for me, because I've started my book. I did. I started my outline. So I'm working on my outline. As a matter of fact, I'll be finishing typing it up, because I wrote so much with my ADHD. I'm like, okay, this is just too much. I gotta make it clear. So I'm going to do that. So I'm really excited. And for those of you, thank you all for tuning in to Chronicles of a Favorite Woman. My name is Fachina Kirkendall, and of course, my special guest tonight is Mr. Lawrence Darrington. For those who want to check out his story, please check out the Karma Club. You will not regret it. It is an awesome book. But if anything, if you learn anything from tonight's session, you can always learn that, what, regardless of where you come from, it doesn't matter where you come from, is where you headed to. That's it. And Mr. Darrington should be an example of that. Coming from Panama, not being very educated, and then learning how to read, learning how to write, and then now an author. 7,000 copies, you all, self-published. It can't get no better than that. But it comes from diligence and hard work. And that's really the bottom line of that. You got to be hungry for it. And I could definitely tell you wanted to be hungry with everything that you had, all the adversities that you dealt with. You did not want it to be a repeat cycle. And it's called that generational pattern or that generational curse. You didn't want it for your children. And as a result of that, that's where your grind and your hustle came from. That's where you walked away from, things that could have led you down different, but you made a choice. You made a choice. And that's really what this is all about. You made a choice, and you made the right choice, because look at you now. Look at you now. You don't even look like what you've been through. You don't even look like what you've been through.
I'm about to be 58, but I like to give a shout out to all my kids, my oldest son, Lawrence, Devin, Dion, London, Brooklyn, Landon. I love y'all.
Nice. See what I'm saying about the daddy moments? You got to love it. You got to love it. So thank you so much for taking the time out. You all, hey, this is harvest time, y'all know. So tomorrow morning, I'll be on with my Chronicles of a Comfort Moment, my daily nuggets that I always offer on a daily basis. I am so excited for what God is doing for Chronicles going to the next level. I'm getting ready to do my next face-to-face interview. So I'm really excited about that. Truly, truly excited. And I'm actually excited about the upcoming topic that's coming up, because we're getting ready to talk about some very controversial issues. But anyway, until that time, I want you to have a good night. I love you, but God loves you more. You have a good night. And Mr. Darrington, you just hold on. I'm going to put you in the studio.
Good night, everyone.
All right. So with that being said, my name is Fachina Kirkendall. You're tuning into another Chronicles of Favorite Woman moment. And Mr. Darrington is just awesome. And if you didn't get a chance to hear the story prior to coming on now, you could always catch the live. And it is on my page and also Mr. Lawrence Darrington page as well. Like I said, I will see you tomorrow morning, 7:30 time frame. I love you, but God loves you more. Be blessed.